Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Keeping Up With Me. So this week was a whole lot of fun. Obviously, we had the 4th of July celebrations or Independence Day here in USA. So I had a really awesome time this weekend. I'm gonna getting to see how the Americans do things in the celebration of freedom. Before I jump into that, I do want to start off this week going through all of my logging, give you a bit of an explanation as to why my nutrition looks the way that it does. I'm using Carbon Diet Coach. And I also want to give you a bit of an example today that really demonstrates exactly how shifting your macronutrients around from one day to the next, or maybe favoring one over the other, will influence your daily energy balance. Now, I know that I've talked about this quite a bit, just kind of generally speaking, but I haven't provided you with any kind of math. So I'm going to throw something up on the screen for you today so that you can see really exactly how that shift in energy balance is actually taking place. Let's go ahead and pull up all of my numbers for this week. I've gone into Carbon and I'm having a look at my average calories for the week. So I still get a lot of DMs from people asking about how to find averages and look at all of your metrics. You just need to go to the little me section that you can see here, right down the bottom. And if I go to the full view, you can see that you can look at all of your metrics regarding your weight, your body fat, your lean body mass, if you're somebody that's tracking and providing that data. You can look at your maintenance calories, protein, carb, and fat. So all of that is displayed there for you. And not only do you get to see your 7-day rolling average, which is what I'm showing you now. So you can see there, like as I move the screen across, it is going to adjust accordingly, depending on what that particular 7-day window value was. But you can also go and have a look at your monthly view. So you can see there for me, if I look at my monthly view for the month of, I guess it's June, my average weight was 65.7. So you can also see a yearly view. You can see like how my weight has trended. You can see the pinnacle of my building phase kind of back in January of last year, which was kind of around 70, and then it's just slowly tapered down. So that's actually the first time I've looked at that. So it's nice to see a line going down. So anyway, that's where you guys can find all of your average data, because yeah, I know a lot of you have been curious about that. Let's go and have a look at my calorie averages for this past week. So you can see there, I came in at 1675. Now my target this week was 1642. So I haven't done the math yet, but I'm hoping that that puts me within the 2% kind of range we allow for Carbon. But what you will notice here is that at the beginning of the week, my intakes were very high. So last week I spoke to you about our son's birthday party. We had the in-laws in town and we had a bunch of leftovers from the parties. So I will tell you exactly where those 2,300 calories came from. So I ordered a bunch of those, I guess they're like iced brownies. So some of them were like chocolate fudge iced, some of them were like cookies and cream iced, so they had like the crumbles of like, I don't know, dark chocolate cookies on the top. And there was a marble one, which was like white icing swirl. And I think most of the people that came to the party, all of their kids came along, but most of them, I guess, track macros. It just kind of seems to be like who we hang out with. Everyone's kind of somewhat conscious of their, you know, their svelte figures. So I was like, well, I think it's a party. Like people are going to indulge a little bit, but we had so many of those left over. I'm like, God dang it. So yeah, Monday rolls around. My training was literally fueled on 5 brownies on Monday morning. So before I went to the gym, I think I had like, I can recall this very specifically because I was like, oh shit. It was like 180 grams of chocolate fudge brownies. So I think it was 100 grams of carbs before I hit the gym. But hey, I performed really well that day. So kind of was all right, but it really set me up for quite a challenging remainder of the week. So Tuesday, I think we went out for dinner with Lane's parents, and you know, the restaurant that we went to didn't really have a whole lot of flexibility or options. And usually like when I go out, because it is challenging being on prep and on low calories, it's important that I go to a place that has some flexibility with their foods. In this restaurant, and granted Colombia is a really nice restaurant, their menu is very fixed. So every single thing is basically served with yellow rice and and peas or beans. And then everything is covered in oil and it's all pre-made. So even down to the veggies, I think when I asked the server, could you just do like whatever your normal veggie medley is, just steamed or plain or not in oil? And he was like, oh, they're pre-made. And I'm like, oh, okay. So do they have garlic and onion? And he's like, no garlic there. And then he told me the vegetables back. And I don't think that he actually understood that I have a garlic and onion intolerance. So I'm like, okay, what about the fish? Like, can I have my fish like just grilled? I don't mind if it's dry. Like, I just don't want any oil on it. And he was like, oh no, it's already pre-marinated. Like everything has the special spices. And then I'm like, so what are those spices? And he's like, oh, just the spices. And I'm like, this is gonna be a shit show. So my meal comes out, the veggies are like absolutely doused in garlic and onion and oil. And I'm like, oh my God. So we got home and by that time, it was so late, I was absolutely starving. So I ended up just eating, I think I preferentially chose protein, and we'll probably see my protein really high on Tuesday, but my calories right there are at 2248. That was a direct result of me being so freaking hungry that like, it's just hard to have that self-discipline at 11 o'clock at night. So I really stuffed up bad this week. And as a consequence, I had to rein it back in through the course of the week. So you can see there on Thursday, 1242 was my calorie intake. Friday, 1418. Saturday, I had 1,000 calories, but that was almost like a makeup day for just how high calorie Monday and Tuesday were. Then Sunday was 1346. Those calories freaking suck. Like, I don't even know how I got through the last 4 days of the week. So this week is a perfect example of poor planning, not necessarily hitting bucket mode, but just really struggling at this point with the hunger that has now built up and is showing itself. So that was that. Let's quickly, I'm gonna skip over my protein. I'm gonna go to my carbs because I wanna give you an example of that, the differences in a minute. So carbohydrates, you can see there, Monday, 194, Tuesday, 214. I don't know why Wednesday's higher. Can't remember what I ate on Wednesday. But anyway, you can see there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 99, 91, 92, 88 grams of carbs. That just about killed me. So won't be doing that again. And then if we come over to fats, this was the day that we had the leftover brownie, 79 grams of fat, and then 56, 54, and then 22, 22, 27, and 30. Shit show, absolute shit show. I cannot explain to you how sucky this last week was. Lastly, let's go to protein. So my favorite one, and this is the one that I want to give you an example of. So you can see here my weekly average was 181. So on numerous days, I was well over 200. And again, this was me just like starving, reaching for things that are a little bit more thermic, which is the example I'm going to show you today, because if I had to make a choice, I'd obviously prefer to overeat on protein than I would like a fats, which is the least thermic of all of the macronutrients. Really rough week. So let's pull up an example. I'm going to put some numbers up on the screen here for you to kind of outline, I guess, the differences in energy availability when you are constantly trading out macros. And normally I would show this example in the reverse, so far as like people tend to overeat on fats or carbohydrates perhaps, and they'll undereat on protein. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of people will really struggle to lose weight because of this drastic change that can take place in their energy balance. But I'm going to show you why this is not necessarily a good thing for me, in contest prep, because if I do this too often, it artificially sways or skews my energy balance in a negative direction. So then if I then go back to eating a normal amount of protein the following week, I may actually be taking myself out of the deficit that I'd been creating. So it just makes it more challenging to know truly what's going on if there's a lot of flux. So we'll use my calories as an example. My target right now is 1642. So typically I'm looking at 150 grams of protein, 164 grams of carbohydrate, and 43 grams of fat. This week, let's just say, for example, and I'll use my protein as the actual example, I had 181 grams of protein. So it's gonna be a lot higher. And let's say my carbohydrates was unchanged and I traded out all of those carbohydrates for fats. So, and that's pretty realistic, honestly. So let's say 28 grams of protein. So both of these examples here equate to 1642 calories, but one is going to be slightly more thermic than the other, and it actually skews my energy balance. So by making that 31 gram change in protein from 150 up to 181, that's a 124 calorie difference per day from protein at least. And that means that my fats have come down on average by 15 grams, and that's about 135 calorie decrease from my protein. Every day this week, just due to my preferences for eating more protein instead of fats, that actually skews my energy balance in a negative direction by around 37 or just over 37 calories. That doesn't sound like a lot. However, if we think about the kinds of adjustments that we would make to facilitate like weight loss, or on the other side of the spectrum, weight gain, 37 calories is probably just within a maintenance calorie range. And I think, like, again, depending on what somebody's maintenance calories are, like 37 might be negligible, but for someone when their calories are starting to get really low, 37 calories is probably meaningful. So let me give you an example. If you are currently maintaining your weight on 1500 calories, for females, that feels like a fairly standard number that I will see when people sign up to work with me. That means that your maintenance calorie range is probably within about 150 calories, because 10% of 1500 is 150 calories. So if you undereat by 150 calories, you're probably still going to maintain your weight. But if you overeat by 150 calories, it's probable you'll still maintain your weight. Now, there's going to be some variation from individual to individual with that. And again, this comes down to somebody having maybe a slower metabolism versus somebody with a faster metabolism. And I don't necessarily think that we are stuck in that category. I don't think that forever or indefinitely you have to be somebody with a slow, unresponsive metabolism. I think if you practice eating well and, facilitating like a reverse diet, I do think that we can kind of skew that in a more favorable direction. But thinking about those numbers, that's why it is so important that we don't keep trading out our macros, because, like this week for me, that's a 37 calorie negative skew. So it's probably pushing me in a more weight loss direction. I hope that that makes sense. So that's the example that I wanted to give you. And again, it will depend on how much you're moving your macros around. But my take home message here is really just make sure that you are being consistent with your targets. I can't talk because I just did it myself this week, but it's the reality of this situation. Like, if I want to get my shit together, I need to get my shit together. So anyway, let's go and have a look at my check-in for the week. So my allowable range, I've just snuck in, was 1601 to 1683. My tracked macros, or the average calories this week, was 1675. You can see there that my fats was actually within the recommended range this week, and I can thank those brownies for that, because that's truly the only time I feel like I ate any meaningful amount of fat or added fats in my diet. Everything else just came from like trace amounts in like a really lean protein source or like another food. And my protein was very high at 180.7, and my carbs were a little bit low of the mark, but again, they were made up with protein. So I can actually say I was compliant this week. God, I don't know how I managed to swing that. My weight this morning was 65 kilograms. So I feel like I've just been kind of hovering around this amount for the last few weeks. But last week I did have my menstrual cycle. I'll put yes in here. I'm a little bit hesitant about this because I'm kind of starting to run out of time for my goal, and I kind of want to get another calorie drop so I don't keep stagnating, but we'll put yes and see what the coach does. And if I need to override this decision, I'll have to get on and explain to you why. But for now, let's hit the next button. Does everything look okay? Yes. Okay, nice work. Since my body is responding well, we are not going to make any changes. Keep up the great work. Okay, Interesting. So that means that this week I will have another week on my targets of 1642, and hopefully I don't have any more random brownie events or meal restaurant eatings that I come home starving from. So that's that. I did want to share a little bit of insight, I guess, with you from what we got up to this past weekend. So there were probably a dozen of us that had organized to do our 4th of July celebrations ahead of time. So we wanted to go and do it on Saturday because I guess all of us, it's Monday today. It's the day after, I guess, Independence Day. So I'm still at work, going to be still at work. So I didn't really want to be tired after celebrating on Sunday. So all of us were like, yes, this is genius. We'll go and do this pool party on Saturday. And then we can all rest and recover on Sunday. And it is like torrential rain on Saturday. So we've got like our big group text going, and everyone's like sending all these hilarious memes. Like, I'm gonna put some pictures up here because I just about died the entire day laughing. It was so funny. So yeah, I had my windscreen wipers like on full ball all the way to this event. We'd actually organized a hotel like just next door so that once we got done, we didn't have to drive all the way back home. And so we're dropping our luggage off, and I'm just like, this is insane. So we still go, we get a break in the water, we get inside the venue, and then within like 5 minutes, it's back to like sideways rain. So we had a cabana, thankfully, because it didn't like, I guess you were protected a little bit from the above shelter, but it was so rainy. And keep in mind, like, Florida is under like a hurricane alert right now. We have like, it's only a Cat 1 or something like that. So it's not bad, but we've got like all of these hurricanes like circulating just on, you know, outside the coastline. So yeah, the rain was sideways. So yeah, you can see me here like hiding under a towel. I forgot to wear waterproof mascara that day, as did like the other girls. So I'm like, the boys are all in the pool thinking this is freaking hilarious. Like, they're out there like having a beer, sitting in these like little plastic chairs, like just hanging out. The music was still going, but we did have a really good time, and it was kind of funny. One thing that I can say, I think, with the whole process of dieting is, as you get leaner, like, your ability to control and regulate your body temperature is so bad. So it's still like hot. I was freezing the entire time, just like just standing there chattering my teeth. Meanwhile, everyone's like, it's great, yay! So we did that. We did have a really good time. But yeah, the next day, the same event was having another party for Independence Day. And I get up and it's freaking beautiful. Sun is out. I'm like going out for a nice walk along Bayshore, and I'm just like, we really got stuffed around yesterday. This will be our luck for just trying to plan ahead and be good and not be tired for the work day. So yeah, that was quite a funny weekend. So yesterday I came in, did some stuff here around the office, and then Lane and I actually went down and watched the fireworks from a place called American Social. So it's like right on the water in downtown Tampa. And somehow, I don't know how, we managed to get like a bar seating, like a high top seating right on the edge of the deck of this building, and the barge where they're lighting off the fireworks is like immediately in front of us. We're like, oh, this is so good. How did we score this spot? So we were sharing the table with another couple and had a really good time. They were playing like all the oldies. Like, I think mine and the lady that we were with, she reminded me of my mum and my stepdad, actually. I was like, I feel like I'm hanging out with my parents right now. So we were like listening to ABBA and I don't know, just a bunch of old, really good songs. So we had a good time. That was my weekend. Back at it this week. Hopefully a better week. I really hope so. That is all from me, guys. If you have any questions about Carbon or anything around nutrition and training, please feel free to leave me a comment. And until then, I will see you next time.